What's going on, folks? I'm AutoMattock. We're gonna talk about Falke.
I'm ready to start. Whenever you're ready.
That freaked me out the first time I beat this character. I was streaming and I was just in the idle stance, and then she said that I'm ready to start. Like, geez, already with the attitude, girl. So anyways, speaking of attitude, with anything new that comes about with this game, it's hard for me to have a level of enthusiasm to really be excited or hopeful, and let's just say I don't look forward, really. I don't really look forward to it. But I do like the challenge of solving the puzzle and teaching it to other people who might enjoy something that maybe I don't have that same level of enjoyment, and then I can enhance, their experience. That's what I pride myself in the fighting game realms these days. So it's been quite challenging to figure that out with Falke. Your first initial impressions, it's almost like, you feel empty, and then you get hit by something like this, and you're like, and then you're like, you do this, and you're like, and then when I get some creative ideas and those don't work either, I'm like, it's like frustrating. But in this game, the key is always V-trigger, in my opinion. You want to find the points, you want to find out how to get to that route, how to get to where you have V-trigger, and she does quite a good job with that. With her V skill, you can confirm into this. But the experience of developing this character was certainly not without frustrations. But again, it's the V-trigger. The V-trigger makes it all count. So I want to go over a lot of the concepts with this character so that you know what kind of pitfalls to avoid and what she really has to offer and what she doesn't have to offer. It's so important with this game, especially when you have a desire, when you want a character to work a certain way and it's not their intention, it's not how they designed the character to work, it's like, it's not going to happen. And then if it does happen, they'll patch it out. Boom! So, the way that this character works is heavily reliant on neutral. There are some knockdowns where you can have advantage, but it seems like that's just not her goal. It's not her goal to get close to you, mix you up off of a throw. There are some scenarios where you can certainly do it, but by default, not so much. It's really about her ability to zone with her shots, the low shot. I think they're called Cudgel and Jaeger, that kind of thing. The Shotgun Blast, which has more range than her normals outside of the forward and hard punch. These are a very key zoning tool, but I would suggest being very careful with this this air shot. If they jump at you at a good point, they can hit you on the landing recovery. So it's not something that you want to do. You don't want to treat it like it's a Kumba's fireball, although you can jump back and do it. So the way that you would use this is if you are conditioning your opponent to anti-air you off of a jumping. So if you're jumping in and then they're gonna time their anti-air as you're landing, and then you use that, and then that's gonna hit them. So as a result, your opponent may hesitate in anti-airing you, or they may just keep anti-airing you because there's not a whole lot of reward in actually hitting this. In that method. The other method is just using it for the air mobility that it offers. It does stop you in the air, so if you're about to land on a fireball, you can prevent yourself from doing that. Guile Sonic Boom, right? Like Light Punch Sonic Boom. Everybody jumps into it. So that's the idea with this character. Combined with the Crouching Hard Punch anti-air, the Psycho Schneid anti-air, and one thing to note is that if you're holding the Cycle Cudgel or whatever the charge shot you want to call it, if you're holding this down with hard punch, then you won't have crouching hard punch. You have to let go of this and then a crouching hard punch. But instead, what you want to do is, direct your anti-air to the Cycle Schneid, so that if they do jump, you want to use this, or a jump back air normal. That's fine too, or even a super if you want. Excuse me. So other than that, the forward hard punch is important in the zoning sense. But it is -10, so you have to be very careful for something such as like Cammy's Light Kick Spiral Arrow, Ken's EX Tatsu if you're close enough. I should say if you're not far enough, it will punish you on block if you do this. But this move, it does a good job of keeping your opponent out, contributing towards the white damage, and it can potentially crush counter them, which is going to give you some space in the neutral if you're like near the corner. But of course, it is a heavy attack, command heavy attack, so those usually have a lot of total animation frames. So if they're just jumping at you, you're gonna eat it, you know. And that's the game. Same with these other crush counter buttons. This doesn't hit crouching opponents, by the way. And there's clipping issues. So the other button is crouching medium punch, and this, as I mentioned earlier, how you can see something and not really quite understand, like what I still don't understand crouching medium punch that well. So if you compare crouching medium punch to standing hard punch, it has very slightly like increased range if you compare them. I don't know if I can like find the spacing for it. See, there's very little bit more range there. But it's 10 frames. They're both 10 frames, so I'm not sure why you would use crouching medium punch when you can't even buffer it, other than it recovers slightly faster. So maybe there's something with V-trigger too that could be better, but I don't know. This normal doesn't quite make sense to me. I had a lot of hope for this normal too. When this character trailer dropped, when I saw this, I was like, really? A mid-range normal? I can whiff punish? I don't even care. You don't have to buffer it. But now it's 10 frames. The range is better than most mid-range normals, but I don't want to stick. I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it too much. So in terms of block strings, I think that's about it for neutral, right? The standing medium kick is quite important. Standing medium kick and standing hard punch for a whiff punishing sense, and then reacting if you whiff punish into a special move, which we'll get into a bit later. I want to keep this a little bit brief. I feel like I've been talking quite a bit, but you can use this as a whiff punishing tool. Like, you're being a bit predictive with this, but then you're confirming if they do a normal and then going into the EX catapult. In my opinion, I think EX catapult is correct. If you don't know, then you can have the shotgun ready, whatever this is called. And the same thing applies for standing medium kick. Standing medium kick has shorter distance, but it is faster. This is 8. This is 8 frames. This is 10. So it's a little bit faster, and it does move her forward, so it makes it more likely for her V-skill follow-up to hit. Whereas with the standing hard punch, you'll see this, and then you'll complain on Twitter. That's the sequence of events. So I want to briefly talk about the block strings, some of the hit confirms, because there's really not a whole lot. There's really not a whole lot to investigate there. But as far as like hit confirms, if you achieve this position where you're close to them, your light attack hit confirms. I don't know. I'm boiling down to two things. Boiling them down to two things. I'll just go with it. Standing short, crouching light punch, and then chain crouching short and crouching light punch. I think that's it in terms of these light attacks. And then really it's just medium punch and crouching down forward hard kick. But off of these light attacks, the most consistent thing to do, in my opinion, or at least from what I've seen so far, is to do the standing. What's this move name? Let me check the names. Let me check the tapes. Psycho. What's the jump? Fedair. Psycho cudgel. And cannonin. Okay, so you want to do the psycho cudgel, right? Looks like a shotgun. Now you do have the option to do the V skill off of the low, but if you're too far away, it's going whiff. So proceed with caution. You want to like check each situation if you're really gonna go that route. So the way that I really suggest, I would focus this first of all, is learning how to do this, and maybe this. That's still debatable whether that string is even worth it in my opinion, but this absolutely. And then you want to be able to cancel into V-trigger, and then bada bing, bada boom. And then we'll talk about that a little bit later. The other two are pretty much the same thing. Down forward hard kick, medium punch, standing medium kick, and then special move from there, and we'll discuss which one you may or may not want to use later. And the other one is just the standing medium punch here. Now, in terms of block strings, the standing light kick really, that's it. Until like we really get into V-trigger mechanics, this is the most advantage you're gonna get that's like meaningful. And I mean the default answer for if you have frame advantage and you're not in throw range, I think you hit crouching light punch and then psycho cudgel. I think that's it. Whether it's standing medium punch, same thing. or standing short. That's what I see. Now, typically when you're at this position where you're at +2 and you're in throw range, that's great. And this is something you could do. But the problem with this is that it's either her throw range or the amount of pushback on block that these normals are incurring. The opponent could just walk away for you. In fact, I think I can record this. All right? I'm just gonna hold back here. Did you see her walk backwards? Let's see what happens. Oh! Okay, so standing jab might be better, but this also depends on your opponent's walk speed, how fast they can walk back. So absolutely, this is something that is considerable. And off of the throw, you can do forward hard punch. And maybe this recording isn't quite accurate or reflective if they hold back. They may just be able to walk back even more and just be out of range. So the point is, proceed with caution. As far as being offensive with this character, you don't really have it. You have like one choice to make, and then it doesn't quite continue. Unless you have V-trigger. And the reason why that is because this +4. +4. And there are situations you can set up to where you can be in that throw advantage. That throw range here. It's great. I think that's really good. I think if there is one way to activate that V-trigger, it is off of the V-skill. And then remember, if you use your V-skill when your V-trigger is about to activate, when it's about like 90%, and then you hit this medium kick here, you put them in a mix-up and you activate your V-trigger in a way where you can continue to mount your offense. Because off of this throw, you can do forward hard punch if they recover, if they normal recover. This will be meaty. It's all good. And then in the corner, you're in range to reset with down forward hard kick. Yeah. And then you can do the V-skill, they'll land into it. When they land into the V-skill, in the corner, you're in throw range again, bada bing, bada boom. So basically, as you are like defending against Falke, don't do anything. Either do a DP in this position, or just continue blocking. Now here's a pretty interesting setup. Against characters who don't have a 3-frame normal, you can set up sort of a throw loop, right? I need to turn off the wake up. This is good. So this is +4. My medium kick is 8. So if they don't have a 3-frame normal, it'll hit on the same frame. So this will frame trap them, and it draws me in closer. And then I finally get into throw range. So yeah, not bad, not bad. That's pretty much it. And it's really the exact same thing when you're in when you're close proximity, when you have V-trigger. You run into the same similar issues. So if I were to do something like V-skill and then this, my medium punch is out of range. So even though I'm +4, I don't have anything particularly amazing. I think again I would have to do something like crouch line punch, or maybe even that. But now if your opponent, if they are mashing, it will contact them. You get counter hit medium punch, and then off of counter hit medium punch, you can do standing hard punch. That's there. That is absolutely there. And then you can link standing hard punch. But yeah. As far as the knockdown, outside of EX Catapult, not a whole lot of them have anything to offer outside of the corner. If you have them in the corner, all the knockdowns, you can do something. But if there is one knockdown I really want to demonstrate for just tutorial purposes, the EX Catapult. And if you don't follow up with it, you dash up twice, your down forward hard kick will meaty both knockdowns. That's really good. It's really good. So I'm going to have her wake up with a 3-frame. That's normal recovery. You can see that she begins her crouching jab or 3-frame. Here you won't see it because it's going to hit really meaty. Bada bing, bada boom. That's where it's at. Everything else, the back recovery is just too far. So if I do something like I dash up here, they're way too far. I might have frame advantage, but I can't do anything with it. I think forward hard punch might do something. Yeah, but it's nothing. I don't get any other choices besides that forward hard punch. and it's -10 on block. So unless I cancel it, I could potentially be punished by something. So yeah, proceed with caution. This is a neutral character. The knockdown Okuzemi isn't really there unless you have V-trigger as well as the block strains and the knockdowns. So yeah, you're gonna hit a lot of crouching hard punch is the long and short of it. So that's it for now. I hope you learned something. Check out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/AutoMattock. I'll put links in the description below. As I might just write some things down there as well. Yeah, I hope you learned something. Like and subscribe. Leave me a comment what you think about this character. I'm AutoMattock.
I'm ready to start.